Good morning or good afternoon. Welcome to this research symposium titled AI Innovation Ecosystem, Connecting Global Research and Industrial Transformation. I am Dr. Doris Morales Rodriguez and will be the moderator for this knowledge sharing section over the next few hours. This academic event is organized as part of the doctorate program in Applied Artificial Intelligence at Alma Mater Europaea University, Vienna campus, Austria, of which I am a member, and by its Center for Artificial Intelligence. It is also sponsored by Universidad del Sagrado Corazón in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and its School of General Education, where I serve as a professor of entrepreneurship. Alma Mater Europaea University and Universidad del Sagrado Corazón are both part of the global innovation ecosystem, sharing values of innovation and social responsibility. The symposium is held in a hybrid format featuring presentations by researchers from Europe, the United States, and Puerto Rico via Zoom, together with in-person interaction and a response panel in the auditorium of the School of Business and Universidad del Sagrado Corazón in Puerto Rico. To begin the event, I would like to invite the Dean of the School of General Education, Engineer Sandra Pedraza Torres, to give us the welcome address.
Thank you very much, Dr. Morales. I want to switch to English. Queridos invitados, investigadores y educadores y representantes de la industria, bienvenidos al simposio sobre la investigación en inteligencia artificial aplicada, donde exploraremos aplicaciones transformadoras de la inteligencia artificial en gestión del conocimiento, la traducción, la contabilidad, las finanzas y las políticas globales. Quiero agradecer especialmente a la doctora Doris Morales de la Escuela de Educación General por conectarnos con este panel de expertos de instituciones como Alma Mater University, University of Illinois, Springfield, Montclair State University y la Universidad de Ana Geméndez en Puerto Rico, cuyas ponencias abordarán desafíos claves como las limitaciones en traducción literaria, el impacto de la inteligencia artificial generativa en las pymes, las prácticas de divulgación en firmas tecnológicas y los drivers globales del desarrollo de la inteligencia artificial. Igualmente, extendemos nuestro agradecimiento a los paneles de reacción, en especial a la señora Keren Enríquez y al señor Kenneth Rivera Robles, y en general a la comunidad académica de la Universidad del Sagrado Corazón por su valioso apoyo a esta actividad. Espero que disfruten de ella tanto como nosotros al organizarla y que marque el inicio de profundas discusiones sobre estos temas en el futuro. Que disfruten la ponencia.
Thank you, Dean. As I know earlier, this event is organized with the support of the doctoral program in Applied Artificial Intelligence at Alma Mater Europaea University. This institution is a research university with its flagship campus in Maribor, Slovenia, and campuses in Salzburg and Vienna, as well as other cities in Slovenia. It was founded by European Academy of Science and Arts, which brings together over 2,000 distinguished scholars, including more than 38 Nobel Prize winners. We are now inviting Dr. Juman Topla, but he doesn't can connect and send our greetings to all of you. So, at the closing part of the program, we invite our host, Dr. Anushka Ramos, Provost of Universidad del Sagrado Corazón, to address the audience.
Thank you, Dr. Morales. Buenos días, bienvenidos y bienvenidas a la Universidad del Sagrado Corazón. Welcome to Sagrado Corazón University and greetings from the Caribbean and Santurce. We are the longest and continuous educational project in the island, and we are coming through our 150 years anniversary as an educational project in the island. At the center of that future is, of course, understanding and deployment of AI in our curriculum. So always is a pleasure to have scholars coming together to reflect and to identify what are the applications possible for the future. So in the context of our university, in the context of our future, this is an absolutely priority. And we say thank you to Dr. Morales for driving forward this initiative. Please, let's make more of this together. Thank you, everyone, and I hope that you enjoy the event.
Thank you, Dr. Ramos, for your message, and thank you for supporting the This symposium aims to present cutting-edge research and apply AI advances and fosters dialogue between academia and practice, highlighting research in Europe, the United States, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Before we begin, please note that each presenter will have 15 minutes to present the work, followed by a 5-minute response from our professional business reaction panel and a 5-minute question and answer with the audience. After all presentations, there will be an additional 5 minutes final comment period from the reaction panel, and I will present the final conclusion as moderator. Now, before we start the presentation by our guest researchers, I will introduce our reaction panel, made up of 2 distinguished and well-known professionals from Puerto Rico's business, education, and technology sector. With their introduction complete, I invite them to take their seats for today's section. I am honored to introduce our first guest on the reaction panel, Ms. Keren Enriquez. Keren Enriquez worked with education systems, governments, private institutions, non-profit entities, and global corporations promoting educational innovation and digital transformation, and the insertion of women in the technology industry. She has led initiatives to drive change education system with the aim of empowering teachers and inspiring students to develop their best skills and abilities. Her goal is to transform the way we all learn with the support of the best technology to help develop the skills necessary for the 21st century workforce. For 20 years, Keren served as the Director of Education and Corporate Social Responsibility for Microsoft Caribbean, leading the strategy and vision of Microsoft Education Digital Transformation in the Caribbean region. Under her leadership, innovative initiatives and projects were developed that have transformed public and private education in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean with very successful results. In 2022, Keren found Next Level Innovation to drive change in organization by fostering a culture of innovation in the workplace through the talent, engagement, and empowerment. In her professional career, Keren has received numerous awards and honors recognizing her search for a quality education for all and for advancing inclusion, diversity, and equity in Puerto Rico, including a recognition from the Senate of Puerto Rico in 2014, and Distinguished Woman for her achievement in the quest for equity and inclusion in Puerto Rico. She received the Microsoft Cycle of Excellence Gold Club Award in 3 times. In 2010, she received the Education Leader of the Year Award. And in 2018 and 2019, she received the Champion Award. In 2013, she became the first Puerto Rican woman to receive the highest recognition awarded by Microsoft Company, called the Microsoft Cycle of Excellence Platinum Club Outstanding Achievement. Currently, Keren is a member of the Board of Directors of the Puerto Rico Manufacturers Association, the Puerto Rico Information Technology Cluster, and the Echar Pa'lante initiative of Banco Popular. She is also a member of the Advisory Board of Hispanic Educational Technology Services, the Educational Committee of the Puerto Rico Chamber of Commerce, and several technological innovation committees and educational institutions throughout the Caribbean region. Our second guest on the reaction panel, who I am pleased to introduce, is Mr. Kenneth Rivera Robles. Kenneth Rivera Robles is a highly influential CPA and attorney in Puerto Rico, currently serving as a tax partner at Galindez LLC, where he leads the firm tax and consulting practices. His extensive leadership portfolio includes serving as president of the Puerto Rico Chamber of Commerce and president of the Puerto Rico Society of CPAs. Also, he has been a key advisor to the Puerto Rico Department of Treasury and the Legislative Assembly on numerous tax reform committees. Beyond his technical practices, Rivera Robles is a prominent media analyst. He is a frequent guest on major television and radio networks, where he provides expert breakdown of fiscal measures, tax filing season, and government reforms. As a recurring columnist for El Nuevo Día, the island leading newspaper, he offers strategic insights on economic development, the regulatory environment, and the impact of legislative changes on the business community. His dual expertise as an attorney and a CPA enables him to serve as a high-level moderator and educator across professional forums and digital platforms, solidifying his role as a key voice in Puerto Rico's socio-economic discourse. Welcome, and thank you both for accepting the invitation. To begin our symposium, I will be presenting the first research of the day, titled Provenance by Design Node Architecture, Integrating AI into the Knowledge Management Without Losing Traceability, presented by Mr. Claudio Rossi. Claudio Rossi is a doctoral candidate in Applied Artificial Intelligence at Alma Mater Europaea University, Vienna. He has degrees in philosophy and modern languages from the University of Oxford. His current research focuses on philosophical and methodological questions arising from AI integration into knowledge work. He holds a background in philosophy and film studies, bringing a humanity lens to question about AI-assisted cognition provenance and intellectual ownership. He is particularly interested in how AI tools can be integrated into research workflow without compromising traceability or the intellectual labor that develops genuine understanding. Welcome, Mr. Rossi, and please proceed with your presentation.
Oh, my apologies. Buenos dias. Hello. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. So thank you firstly to Dr. Morales for inviting me to speak here today. I'm very honored and pleased. Yes, I'm a first-year PhD candidate, also at Alma Mater Europaea, Vienna. And today I'm going to talk about AI's formal affordances and how they shape knowledge and literary production. Yes, I'm a first-year PhD candidate, also at Alma Mater Europaea, Vienna. And today I'm going to talk about AI's formal affordances and how they shape knowledge and literary production. So there seems to be some delay. I hope you can hear me now. I'm not sure exactly what's happening. I'll see. There seems to be some delay. I'm not sure exactly what's happening.
And
Hi, Doris. Sorry, it seems that there's a delay when I speak, and then it, of about 30 seconds, and then it seems to come back. I'm not sure. I can just carry on if you like. No problem. If you guys can hear me, I can just carry on.
Claudio, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I want to start with something that's probably happened to everyone in this room, that you're working on a document, a report, a piece of research, or even an email, and you use an AI tool. Maybe it suggests a sentence, maybe it restructures a paragraph, maybe it generates a summary of something that you've read. And a week later, you come back to that document and you can't remember which parts are yours and which parts came from AI. Now, that's not because you were being careless, but because the tool is designed to blend into your workflow. That's what it's for. So I call this a provenance blur, and I think it's a bigger problem than it first appears. So it's not just about documentation, it's more of an epistemological question. So if you can't distinguish what you actually thought from what was proposed to you by a statistical model, by an LLM, then something important has happened. You've lost the ability to trace the origins of your own thinking. And there's a related concern, which is cognitive offloading. The idea that when we outsource intellectual work to tools, such as AI, we risk weakening the very capacities that those tools replace. This isn't new. This is something that people have worried about with the inventions of calculators, when Google search first took off, and with GPS, for example. But AI makes this problem acute because what's being offloaded now isn't arithmetic or navigation, it's synthesis, judgment, formulation, the very things that arguably constitute thinking itself. So how do we think about this systematically? I'm drawing on the work of Caroline Levine, whose book Forms brought a fresh formalist lens to how structures shape social and cultural life. Her central argument is that any structure, a genre, an institution, a network, a tool, has what she calls affordances, which are things that make it easy, things that make it difficult, and things that it can render invisible. So affordances are basically allowances of a particular form. So to illustrate that by example, if we think of a spreadsheet, it's a powerful thinking tool. It affords quantification, comparison, and categorization. But if we try expressing ambiguity in a spreadsheet, or try capturing a half-formed idea, or a poetic intuition, or some sort of contradiction you haven't yet resolved, well, then you'll probably find that the structure of the spreadsheet resists you, not because it's badly designed, but because that's what this particular structure does. Its allowances, its affordances shape what can be thought within them. So AI writing tools work the same way. They make speed easy, they make fluency easy, they make lots of volume easy, but what they make harder is slowness, the struggle, and the kind of friction that often produces original thought. And what they tend to make less visible is their own contribution, which brings us back to provenance blur. So the question I'm pursuing in my doctoral research is, what do AI systems' formal affordances enable, constrain, and render less visible in knowledge and literary production? So today I want to show you one practical response to that question. The response is a system that we could call a provenance by design note architecture, a system for integrating AI into knowledge management without losing traceability and accountability.
So in terms of context, I'm working within a note-taking tradition, which is sometimes called Zettelkasten or Smart Notes, where the goal is to build a network of interconnected, atomic, independently meaningful notes that are in your own words. In other words, they're things that you've thought through, that you've collated from different sources and really spent some time with in order to make them your own. And the question that this project addresses is, how do you arrive at that kind of note when AI is part of your process? So the design is simple. I've got 3 zones. First, there's a sources zone, which highlights, so this is highlights, for example, captured from reading, conversation, transcripts. In the second zone, you've got an AI workbench. So that's anything that's generated or proposed by an AI system, and that gets tagged explicitly as such, as an AI-generated instance. And then there's a third authored layer, which is comprised of the atomic notes that I own, in the sense that I've converted them into my own words, and they are my own sort of thoughts, if you will. So the key mechanism between going from an AI-generated text and then an atomic note is a promotion gate, and which is essentially just trying to ensure that nothing moves from the AI workbench into the authored layer automatically. So if AI proposes something useful, then I have to stop, reformulate it into my own words, and then deliberately promote it. So the original AI version stays tagged and traceable always. And we also then are creating an intentional friction in the system. So a deliberate point of resistance against AI's default affordances. So it's the allowances that its particular form, when we implement it, tries to achieve, that of seamlessness and invisible integration. By introducing this fiction, I'm trying to make this more visible and to therefore sort of highlight how AI can almost sneak into our thought process without realizing it, unless we are quite careful at accounting for when we're using it, how we're using it, and we have some sort of traceability for its use. So in the system, the tag vocabulary is minimal. It's just a highlight, an AI claim, and then an atomic note. And because the whole system is metadata driven, the pattern is portable. So I'll show you this working in one particular tool, but it could be implemented in any system that supports basic tagging and filtered views. So this isn't a particular software demo or something that's very locked into a particular process. This is more of an overall architecture that could be implemented across different softwares, and could even be done manually, in fact, in some ways. So I'm going to give a demonstration then of the system, and what that will then show is the process of creating a candidate AI claim from an atomic note, from a highlight, the process of human review and intervention of that note, it then being promoted to an atomic note, and then finally some filtered views where we can see AI traceability working at each step of the process. So let me show you this in practice. I built a working implementation in the app Tana, a note. And then there are highlights from those sources. So if we go into highlight, you'll see this is quite messy. It's from an audio transcription. So I've got then AI actions and one of them is to take this and to make it a claim. So if I run that, I'll then get an AI claim which tries to formalize this to some extent, and this is it's something that I can then tag as a claim as well, as an AI claim. So not only do we have the text that prefaces it saying that it's an AI claim, but it also has a tag node of the AI claim. I then have the provenance that it's coming from. Tana AI was the AI model where this was sourced from. And then also crucially, I have the parent highlights from which the claim came. So, and if I go to the claim itself, there's a checkbox here, which is my signal to see if I've reviewed something or not. Obviously, I haven't worked with this yet, so it is still unreviewed. So if I go to another node where I have actually processed a claim, let's have a look. So this is another quotation from the same conversation. And in this one, the AI generated a claim, I engaged with it and argued against it. And eventually I wrote my own version in my own words that then got promoted to being an atomic note. So if the atomic note shows then me the source, the original highlight where it came from. And crucially, it has this promoted from field where I can reference back to the original AI claim that was part of the sort of thought process, as it were, at arriving at this atomic note. So this is essentially the promotion gate, it's been promoted from an AI claim into something that I've rewritten in my own words that I've thought about, and that's become then an atomic note. So if I go back to my filtered views, and we now go to the AI tab of those, I have three different views. I have AI claims, which is just aggregates all the AI claims that have been made, whether reviewed or not. So this is just a really quick way of getting everything that AI has contributed in one place. And then if I go to the AI to atomic notes, these are atomic notes that have been promoted from AI claims. And then finally, and this is perhaps the most useful view, I have AI claims that have not yet been reviewed. So these are proposals also that haven't been promoted or just haven't been considered properly. Now, if this list were to grow, I then have a signal that I'm spending too much time getting AI content and not enough time spending intellectual work engaging with that content and reviewing it and seeing what should be filtered and what should be archived. So these three zones then, the claims, atomic notes, and for review, aren't separate areas. They coexist in the same structure. What separates them is the tagging, one filtered view to see everything that's been done that AI contributed, another view shows what's mine. And that's the system. Great, welcome back, everyone. So sorry about the audio glitch there. I hope that made enough sense. Please feel free to ask me questions. If any of that was unclear afterwards. But in terms of then looking at the implications of this type of note-taking system, I would just, I guess, like to leave you with three things. First, practically, this is a design pattern. So it's not a product, it's not using a particular app. It's more of a concept that anyone can apply to their knowledge work. So really anyone doing knowledge work with AI, researchers, analysts, writers, documentation teams, can implement some version of this in whatever tools they already use. The core principle is simple: make AI's contribution visible and require a human act of judgment before it becomes owned. Second, methodologically, this system doubles as research infrastructure. So every promoted atomic note, every tagged AI contribution, every point where I intervened and pushed back and just sort of wrestled with AI, those become data points for me. And so I'm using this in my doctoral research as what I call an auto-ethnographic infrastructure, which is a system that generates a traceable record of how AI shapes my own knowledge production over time. So it's almost like a way of journaling one's interaction with AI as in real time as one's working with it. And so that becomes then a methodological process. And third, and this is perhaps the most important point, is that the architecture itself is an argument. So it says that AI's formal affordances, its speed, its fluency, its seamlessness, are not neutral features. They shape what gets produced and how we think. Making those affordances visible rather than letting them operate beneath the surface is a small but I think meaningful intervention on how we approach working with AI. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for your time. And I can leave the slide up or share this with you afterwards. And also there's my email address if anyone would like to contact me. And certainly if anyone would think of implementing anything like this into their work, I would love to know what that implementation was and how it went. And yeah, that would be very interesting. But thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rossi, for your presentation. Please remain connected for the panel response and to answer a question from the audience. We now turn to the reaction panel composed of Ms. Enriquez and Mr. Rivera. Go ahead.
Thank you. You hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. A very interesting proposition, Claudio. I really like it a lot. The main concern I have is that real life engagement. Dr. Morales mentioned a practitioner by trade. So when I do some research, I use AI cases of that. And then if I'm going to send that to the client, I integrate that document. So in your proposal, basically the client could see which parts of the document were proposed by me and which were proposed by the tool. Right?
Sorry, the audio is a little bit, if I understood your question correctly, it's that if you're working with AI with the clients, it's how to distinguish which parts are yours and which parts were the AI's contribution to that document?
Yeah. The client will be able to do this, to distinguish that. He will know which parts were done by me and which parts were done by the tool.
No, so the aim of this ideally, and I'm using it mainly in a research framework. So the final sort of client facing or the output it would I would like to that to be purely mine in a sense, right? So which is the idea of the atomic notes. However, certainly in a work context or in there would be of course moments where it would be a mixed or more blended contribution, since the intellectual property isn't really much of a as much of an issue. What I think where this would help in a sort of a professional workflow where you're interfacing with clients is that even if there is an AI element within that, within whatever you're sending, by having some sort of checks and balances process, by having a promotion gate, it would mean that even if it was sort of AI that you hadn't, say an AI claim, or but that you'd at least engaged with it, that there is that, which is why I've got that sort of review checkbox, if you will, that there's just an extra bit of reflection on what's generated so that it can translate into those client-facing interactions and have the appropriate amount of responsibility, essentially, that would be coming with it, if that's making sense. So it would be more behind the scenes. It's not so much something that's embedded in the document itself. You know, it's more from in the creation process for you to be able to get a sense of, okay, how much AI is in this? You know, where did I use it? You know, how has it helped me? How hasn't it helped me as well? I mean, that's also, I often find it very useful. In fact, when I have an AI generate a claim, for example, or generate a counter argument to a highlight or something that I've found, and I find that I disagree with the counter argument, or I find that it makes a weak claim, or it doesn't summarize, for example, a viewpoint in a way that I think is convincing, that's actually often more useful because then I get to think myself, you know, how would I argue against that, you know, and how can I then find more value in that. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and I think it's a great tool at the educational, even in the professional arena, in the sense that I will know if one of my employees does the work, which part he did, which part the AI will do that part. So from that point of view, I think that's a great tool. Okay? But the concern I have is final document that shouldn't have those reference which part were done that way.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. So, congratulations for that amazing job. I have a question, more for clarifying to see if I understand. What do you see as the biggest barriers for organizations from AI experimentation to trusted and scalable adoption of that solution?
Thank you. That's a great question. And the scalability issue is something that I've been sort of thinking about in the background because I sort of developed this as a personal knowledge management tool. But if one thinks about the sort of responsibility that an organization would have in terms of saying, you know, here is a repository of information that we have about our organization, let's say a shared database, you know, where it's, you know, this is our academic institution and these are our core documents. And how do those, and if those are also interacting with AI in some way, then essentially this system could be scalable, or a system like this could integrate within existing databases or knowledge repositories as a simple way, anywhere that you can add some sort of metadata. So be that a tag or a note or a comment even, you know, those are all moments where one can introduce a tag just saying this is AI generated and someone has or hasn't looked at it, or it's been promoted, it's been developed into another piece of institutional knowledge which is now vetted. You know, it's not just pure AI output. So I think it could be scalable. You know, obviously one would have to then look at the particular use case, the particular needs that an organization or an industry would have, you know, and how they're using AI. And what exactly their specific requirements are. But I do think that it could be scalable in that it's more the principle of thinking about how we're working with AI and not just sort of so introducing friction or obstacles so that it's not this seamless flood of AI input that we just accept into these very carefully curated, for the most part, knowledge bases that we have, either personally or as institutions or as companies, where that proprietary knowledge is not then just sort of washed over with AI without us being aware of that process unfolding, you know, and being very kind of intentional about how that's used, and then also being able to respond to traceability and accountability queries by having these breadcrumbs, if you will, of where AI is intervening in our particular workflow.
Great, because I think it's not a technical issue, it's more just a trust issue. And this is an opportunity for AI, you know, to stand out with that solution.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think that's yes. The aesthetics is really just one wrapper, you know, for the general concept. You know, it's really about the trust and about the process. I think absolutely, I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the reaction. Are there any questions from the audience? On Zoom or in the auditorium? Professor Rivera.
Do I have to, yes. Good morning, Mr. Rossi. Thank you for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. I have a question, and Ms. Karen just said the keyword trust. What you're saying is that in order to perhaps I don't know, normalize the use of AI in our everyday work, be they analysis or research, there must be some things that we as academics, as researchers, as analysts should do in order to, and I wrote some keywords here to make our work with AI accountable, also transparency, and of course, full disclosure of the use of these platforms, be they Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, etc. And also the full display, of course, and documenting the use of AI. I've used it to, for example, as a conversation tool to revise. I used to write newspaper columns for a newspaper, a local newspaper, and I asked the AI to read that, and it suggested things. And I did ask it explicitly to not change the structure of what I wrote, and then it suggested something, and then I just did whatever I wanted. But yeah, this just were quite refreshing for as a researcher, et cetera, et cetera. It also depends on the prompts that we put into it, and to make it more effective. I just wanted to say that as a commentary, not really as a question, but thank you so much.
That's absolutely a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rivera. Another question? You have another question? No? Thank you, Claudio.
Thank
See
you.
you in Vienna the next year. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Well, then the second presentation for today is titled Intercultural Competence and Translation Quality, Assessing AI and Human Literary Translation. Present by Professor Daniel Duskovic. Daniel Duskovic is a linguist, translator, faculty lecturer, and language specialist. He holds two bachelor degrees from the University of Trieste, Italy, and the Universitat Regensburg in Germany, in interlinguistic communication, and a master's degree in specialized translation. He is a doctoral candidate in applied artificial intelligence at Alma Mater European University in Vienna. In his doctoral research at Alma Mater Artificial Intelligence Center, he focused on the relationship between AI and translation, with particular attention to the limitation of AI when used in literary translation. Currently, he lives in Rome, and he's active as a language specialist, as well as a faculty lecturer at Epicot Institute and Jan Institute in Malta. He has taught in several Italian universities and researched on linguistics and translation. Welcome, Professor Duskovic. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Yes, hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on the place of the world where you are. And thank you for having me and for being here today. I think you are seeing my presentation, right? Okay, good. So today I will present a study on intercultural competence and translation quality, focusing on the comparison between AI-generated translations and human literary translation. So this research is situated within the broader transformation of translation practices due to artificial intelligence. However, when we move into the domain of literature, a key issue immediately emerges. The thing is that translation is not only complex, but also inherently subjective. And this leads to the central question of this study. Can AI systems handle not only meaning, but also the subjective, the interpretative dimensions of literary translations? So let's start by saying that translation nowadays is not considered anymore a simple linguistic transfer. It is an intercultural and interpretative activity requiring mediation between different systems of meanings. And in fact, in literary translation, this becomes even more complex. Literary texts are built on imagery, they are built on tone, rhythm, and emotional resonance. And crucially, these elements are not objectively fixed. They are interpreted differently by readers and, of course, also by translators. This means that translation is always shaped by subjective choices, which are influenced, by instance, by cultural background, interpretative perspective, and stylistic sensitivity. And as a result, there is no single, let's say, correct literary translation, only more or less adequate interpretations. Machine translations, what you find defined as MT in the presentation, has evolved significantly, moving, for example, from statistic MT or neural MT. And current systems perform very well in structured domains. However, we consider in the translation studies literary texts as open texts, which means that they allow multiple interpretations and they depend on the ambiguity and stylistic variation. AI systems rely on probabilistic modeling, which tends to favor the most statistically likely interpretation. But this creates a tension. AI aims for consistency and predictability, while literary translation requires, like we said before, interpretation and subjectivity. So the research therefore aims to develop an evaluation framework and to analyze whether AI reduces or reshapes the subjective dimension of translation, especially in terms of cultural nuance and emotional meaning. The issue of subjectivity becomes even more evident when we consider evaluation. Translation evaluation has always been challenging because it involves judgments about meaning, about style, and about effectiveness. And early approaches relied on intuitive criteria such as faithfulness, equivalence, or the fact of conveying, let's say, the spirit of the text. But these concepts are inherently subjective. And even modern approaches distinguish between source-oriented evaluation, so in this case we consider more accuracy, or target-oriented evaluation, where reader response is the central thing. This reflects a fundamental point. Evaluation is not neutral because it depends on perspective. Modern evaluation models attempt to reduce subjectivity through standardization. For example, we have the bilingual evaluation under study, the so-called BLEU, which offers automatic scoring, or the MQM, the multidimensional quality metrics, which provides structured error categories. However, these approaches cannot eliminate subjectivity. For instance, BLEU measures surface similarity but ignores stylistic variation, interpretative differences, cultural meaning. So two translations can be equally valid, yet very different. And this highlights a key limitation. Objective metrics cannot fully capture subjective meaning. MQM, the multidimensional quality metrics, introduces a more structured approach with hierarchical error categories, severity levels, and systematic annotation. In fact, in this case, also, if you cannot read what you have in these different columns, you see different colors which correspond to different hierarchical error categories. And this helps to make evaluation more transparent and consistent. MQM calculates the quality of translation working with the number of minor errors, the number of major errors, and the number of critical errors. And the multiplier for major errors, the multiplier for critical errors, and the total word count of the evaluated text are used to analyze this kind of evaluation. However, the point is that it does not completely remove subjectivity. And most importantly, it is focused on, let's say, closed text, technical, medical, or legal. But when we move to literary translation, subjectivity increases even further. Literary texts allow multiple valid interpretation, stylistic variation, different reader responses. And this is a picture of the original MQM model, where you find terminology, accuracy, and linguistic conventions. This is not applicable for literature, for literary texts. And this is the reason why I decided to develop a new MQM dimension based on semantic accuracy, literary style, cultural transfer, reader guidance, linguistic conventions, terminology, and translation strategy. So several of these dimensions explicitly involves subjective judgment. For example, tone, voice, etc. And this is the new model I developed. As you see, there are more dimensions, there are more categories to be evaluated. Now, for the study of today, I decided to analyze the translation of Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen. This is a poem which is particularly suitable for my purpose because it is emotionally intense. It is rich in imagery. It is highly ambiguous. And it also includes irony and cultural reference, which require interpretative decisions. So I decided to use a translation by an Italian translator, Sergio Ruffini, as a model. It is one expert interpretation among many possible ones, but this reflects the fundamental subjectivity of literary translation. In fact, like we said before, different translators may produce different yet equally valid versions. I decided to compare this translation with a translation given by ChatGPT 5.3. And in this context, if you look at the errors found, you see that ChatGPT is more context sensitive, but we come to this later on, and another translation by Google Translate, which is focused on different aspects. It is more literal, but the point is that both translations aim for consistency and generalization, which may conflict with the subjective variability of literary texts. The results show that both AI systems fall below the acceptability threshold. However, this evaluation might be interpreted carefully because evaluation itself is partly subjective and the results reflect structure analysis, but also interpretative judgment. ChatGPT performs relatively well in semantic accuracy, in fluency, and in coherence. However, it shows stylistic flattening and reduced emotional intensity. This can be interpreted as a tendency to normalize meaning, reducing subjective variation in favor of clarity. Google Translate, on the other side, shows more significant issues: literalism, mistranslation, stylistic weakness. So it struggles to move beyond surface meaning and therefore fails to engage with the interpretative dimension of the text. This comparison shows that ChatGPT is more fluent but less expressive, and that Google Translate is more literal and less accurate stylistically. Both systems share a key limitation. They struggle with elements that require subjective interpretation, such as metaphor, irony, and emotional tone. Of course, this study has also some limitations, meaning that it is just a single case study. I decided to use just a limited amount of systems, so ChatGPT and Google Translate. And as usual, being the evaluation subjective per se, it relies on human evaluation. But most importantly, like we said before, evaluation remains partly subjective because of its nature. And even with MQM, interpretation cannot be fully standardized. So the findings suggest that literary translation is intercultural, it is interpretative and inherently subjective. AI systems can preserve general meaning, they can produce readable drafts, and we saw them, but they struggle with interpretative nuance, with stylistic depth and cultural meaning. So the adapted MQM framework allows us to structure evaluation to compare translations systematically or as systematically as possible. However, it also shows that subjectivity cannot be removed. It can only be managed. This leads to a key implication. AI should be used as a support tool for translation in general, but also for our cases probably, but it is not a replacement. It is something which translators should use, should be aware of how to use it, but it is just a supporting tool. It is not the one thing which replaces the translation ability of the translative capability of humans. So in conclusion, literary translation quality cannot be reduced to objective criteria alone, and in fact, it requires interpretation, cultural awareness, subjective judgment. Again, AI can assist the process, but the human translator remains essential, precisely because of their ability to navigate subjectivity and to be an interculturally capable individual. Here, of course, I know there are many references, but they are the most important ones. Now, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for following me. You find my details, my LinkedIn account if you want to connect, and I will be happy to be in contact with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Justovil, for your presentation. Please remain connected for the past response and answer any question.
Thank you, Daniel. This is very interesting, and for me, particularly, it's important because you know that we are in a country which is very cultural, and one of the concerns that I particularly have is regarding our next generations, our students, that they're using increasingly AI, but we are not preserving those culture, those things that are really important for them to understand the basic and the rationale of what we are doing. So I have a question thinking about human-centered AI and emotional AI. Do you think that, or your conclusion will be that this is something that has to do with the bias, that the inputs that we are giving to the AI may be causing something around that and producing that kind of results?
So thank you for your question. It is a very interesting question. I think that this has to do with AI itself, meaning that artificial intelligence is artificial for its nature. So basically, everything what has to do with our ability of being human, sorry for the wordplay, is something where AI, according to my experience, lacks. Meaning that, for example, when we talk, again, I can make another example for translation. When you read a novel and you have several characters coming from different parts of the world, talking, for example, with their beautiful accent, probably when you put the translation in the translation machine, this will work as a big leveler, meaning that AI will destroy every kind of accent or every kind of peculiar characteristic of the character itself. So for translation, AI is able to reproduce meaning, to create a fluent and a correct text, but where we need, like we said before, interpretation or human conception of something, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on the point of view, AI is not there already. I don't know if I answer your question.
Yes. I
Okay.
just point it out because even though if AI is artificial, it is fake. It's made by humans, and we had humans behind the development of AI. And to give you an example, when I mentioned bias in gender equality, there's a huge bias in the AI, and particularly with women. You know, you could
Yeah.
do a test and you can say, give me a picture of a nurse and a doctor, and I can assure you that the doctor will be a male.
Yeah,
And the
of course.
nurse will be a
Of
women.
course.
And
Yes,
that's why I bring this point.
yeah, you touch a big issue because, for example, using machine translation or just making it banalizing the problem when you write something in English in Google Translator, but you are talking about a woman, most probably, considering the fact that Google Translate is based on an algorithm, when it will produce when it will need to decide whether to use masculine or feminine pronoun, mostly masculine pronoun will be used, just because it reflects the masculinity of languages which have gender. For example, I'm thinking about Spanish, Italian, or French, right? Where English, on the other side, has it has genders, but just in the pronouns, he, she, it. But otherwise, we don't have the masculine or the feminine aspect. You are interesting could be referring to a man or a woman, and we do not know.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. A very interesting point. I like your point that this tool, you should begin using AI to begin, and then that the human touch should be added at some point in time at the end. And that's a crucial part of, I think, the integration of human knowledge and the use of technology. However, I have a concern regarding it's cheaper, it's faster, it's more accessible to use AI than to use a human translator. So don't you think eventually people will tend, because of those characteristics, shift towards artificial translations and leave the human factor behind, even though we acknowledge and recognize that it's an important and crucial factor?
Thank you for your question. The answer will probably not be satisfying, but it depends. Meaning that it depends on the purpose of your translation. For example, during the Olympic Games in Tokyo, the Japanese organization struggled with the fact that not many people spoke Japanese, and it wasn't a language which was very easy to learn in short times. So they decided to make research in developing a machine translation system, which could be useful for the athletes or for the tourists going to Japan. So if the purpose is to communicate, so for example, you go into Japan or me going to, I don't know, to Slovakia, whatever, where a language is spoken which I do not master, well, in this case, a Google Translate or an MT system, a machine translation system, is more than enough. But when we are talking about patents, where technicalities and where precisions are needed, or when we talk about medical translation or legal translation, where precision is needed, where details are very relevant, in this case, according to my knowledge, according to my experience, humans will not be replaced in short terms. It is as if you say, okay, I have a calculator, I can calculate the measures of a new bridge, and so I do not use a human engineer to create it. So it is the same thing. It depends on the purpose for your translation. If you want to translate the patent of a new invention, If I were the inventor, I would have at least one human translator to check at least to check the machine translation of my text.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any question of the audience? Yes. We have one question.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. I wonder if you have tried to assess the difference between poetry and narrative literary work. I know that the whole concept of plurisignification and usage purpose is different. So I wonder if you have tried that.
Thank you for your question. Yes, actually, I have tried, even because my doctoral research focuses on idiolects in Dracula by Bram Stoker. So just for non-specialists, idiolects are the precise way in which each of us speak. For example, if you are American, you talk with an accent, with a system of structures, a system of phrases and expressions, which is very different, for example, from those of a British. Or if you come from another country, you talk, for example, with using particular cultural references. So in my doctoral research, I'm focusing on translating idiolects in Dracula. So the different ways in which characters such as an American talks, Dr. Van Helsing, who's a Dutch doctor, or Dracula itself, or a Scottish fisherman talks. And so it is interesting to see that also in this case, AI really cancels every kind of cultural, stylistic, or other kind of nuances, which we like to appreciate in narrative, in novels when we read them. I don't know if I answered the question. It was very superficial, but yes, I am working on these two aspects.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We have another question in the chat. Daniel, the question is, how would you rate audio translation apps? Do they require the same level of review or human interpretation? I ask because they provide instant translations.
Yes, so this is an even more complicated question because it is translation, but it is more about interpreting, which is like simultaneous interpreting, for example, like the one the European Commission, European Parliament. So it is, of course, it should need a human assessment, a human evaluation. But again, the topic is like we said before, it depends on the purpose you have for your translation. If you are abroad, if you want just to communicate in a bakery or at Starbucks, this is more than fine. So you could also go there and just say, I hungry, I sandwich, or something like this. So it would work. But if we are talking about a more sophisticated level of translation, well, you need human intervention. AI is useful, it is a useful supporting tool, but it is not enough.
Daniel, you have another question.
Yes.
Margarita Morel, in an evaluation framework that assesses AI output, is not the human evaluators intercultural competencies the variable you are really measuring, not the translation itself?
Wait, give me just a second. I reread the question.
In an evaluation framework.
Yes, so the point is that evaluation is per se, it is not math, it is not mathematics, it is not physics. So when we talk about humanities, you know that evaluating things, evaluating aspects is not that easy because there is no wrong and correct or wrong, right? So you need to evaluate subjectively. The important thing is that you have categories, that you have different elements which help you leading your evaluation. So of course there is a subjective, a human intercultural competence in the evaluation, but because everything what we say or everything what we read, everything what we listen to is filtered by our background, by our cultural background. And in this case, translators become more than ever intercultural mediators.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions. And so, we have another question.
Another question. So I'm very happy that
Just trying to be part of the solution.
I'm very happy that it is like surprisingly interesting to you. Good.
Now, I'm curious to hear your perspective regarding what human competencies do you think remain critical to foster across cultures in order to address what you're bringing up?
Can you please just say it again because the audio went away for a second.
Competencies do you think should remain critical to preserve across cultures?
I think so. Critical is not necessarily bad. Critical means that you look at things critically with a doubting things. And I think that this is the starting point for everything. Like it is very similar to curiosity. And in this case, being critical is not saying AI translation or machine translation is bad. It is just saying it is good for certain purposes, but it is not enough for other ones.
Yes, so I think the answer maybe should be, or the solution may be fostering critical thinking across, users and in our case, students, in order for them to apply that.
Exactly. When I talk to my students, I always say it is like you learn how to multiply, how to divide numbers when you were in elementary school. Now, probably you use your calculators. So it is not bad using calculators, but the important thing is that you know what is behind the reasoning. And this is the same for AI applied to translation from my point of view.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Daniel, we have questions.
Another question, good.
Thank you, Daniel. It's a wonderful presentation. But following up on Karen's question, it is true that artificial intelligence will not convey the feeling, the sentiment of any literary text. So, I mean, the critical competence here is having read the actual text or experience, and of course, AI will never feel the hurts or the spite that some of these texts convey. For example, I don't know, Julio Cortázar's Rayuela in the first chapter, all the search of this couple throughout Paris, or Mario Benedetti's poetry, or even something, words like, for example, in French, amertume, which means suffering, but also regret. I don't think AI is capable of transmitting that. So you have to explain in the classroom, or something simple like in the movie Casablanca, the phrase, "Here's looking at you, kid." As simple as that, it does convey something. And again, human interaction is necessary to provide context and depth of feeling. But I'm glad that you're researching this. I'm looking forward to seeing your work in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for these supporting words. And yes, you were right. So this is a lot for human translators who will be needed also in the future to give at least their mediation quality to intercultural situations. So thank you so much.
Hi, hello. Yeah, I have a question. Have you thought that maybe the AI will learn eventually to just include all those things that something that in time it will just learn it?
So, thank you for your question. This is an interesting question. So, it is something which I already answered a little bit before. So, artificial intelligence is artificial. So, it means that it cannot evaluate situations which are completely new. Everything what is performed, at least I talk about translation studies, everything what is performed is based on cases of the past. It is based on, yes, on algorithms where after A, B arrives, after B, C arrives. And this is the way in which computers work. So probably, of course, I mean, the numbers of words which we can combine to create a text is very limited. If you look at the history of literature, the history of philosophy over the centuries or thousands of years we are living on the planet. But the point is that words can be combined in always new combinations. And it means that, for example, if a poet or if a writer use a metaphor, it is not said or it is not as given, it is not, it is probable, but it is not sure that another poet will use the same words to create the same idea in the future. So probably yes, but again, artificial intelligence is artificial. So everything what we feel, everything what we think, everything what we could mean by saying another thing, again, metaphors, similes, rhetorical figures, and all these aspects cannot be reproduced that simply.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
See you the next year.
See you. Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
So I think that Dr. Judith Topla is connected in Zoom. Dr. Topla, can you hear me? Well. Is here?
Thank you.
Dr. Loda, we resolved the problem and we have a next section.
Hello?
Oh, okay, hello.
Yeah, now I hear you. The host had to enable my microphone. Now I don't see you, but you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. I guess, oh, now okay, now you can hear me and see me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks to the technical team for enabling this. So my name is Yuri Toplak. I'm from the Alma Mater Europaea University, campus Vienna. And I'm just here to send greetings to the Universidad del Sagrado Corazón in Puerto Rico. I would like to greet everybody from the Alma Mater Europaea University. We are a young university with campuses in Slovenia, Austria, Italy, and soon Germany. And I was very proud today to see our doctoral candidates, Doris, Claudio, and Daniele present and discuss. And thank you to the discussants from the Universidad del Sagrado Corazón for organizing the event. And special thanks to Doris Morales Rodriguez for connecting our PhD program to your university. And I hope that this is just the first of the many events that we can do together. I think the event, I followed the whole event, and I think it showed that the times are over where AI researchers were primarily computer scientists. Now it is time for experts of all disciplines to research AI and to become leading experts in AI, including AI in finance, in medicine, AI in law, translation, philosophical and ethical aspects of AI. So thanks to everybody. It's an honor for us to partner and to work together with the Universidad del Sagrado Corazón. And I'm looking forward to staying in contact, and I wish you the successful ending of the event. Thank you.
Thank you. The next research today is titled Unleashing the Transformative Power of Generative AI in Accounting and Finance, a deep dive into key benefits and challenges for a small, medium enterprises. It will be presented by Dr. Amadou Ma and Professor Ilya Ilienko. Amadou Ma is a professor of accounting in the College of Business and Management at the University of Illinois Springfield. He earned his PhD in accounting and finance from Alliance Manchester Business School. He also holds an MBA in accounting and finance and a bachelor degree in accounting and a bachelor in science in mathematics. He is a certified public accountant, CPA, and certified management accountant. Dr. Juma has been teaching accounting, finance, and management courses since 1987. Previously, he served as professor of accounting at Inter-American University of Puerto Rico, where he coordinates the doctoral program in finance from 2011 to 2017. He has published in international and professional journals, including the Journal of Information Systems, International Journal of Accounting Information Systems, Advances in Accounting, Managerial Auditing Journal, Journal of Global Information Management, Accountancy Business, and the Public Interest and International Journal of Accounting and Information Management. His research interests include accounting and auditing, data analytics, data breaches, blockchain, outsourcing, materiality, performance measurement, and behavioral accounting and finance. Outside academia, he enjoys writing, reading, learning about different cultures, and traveling. Our next guest is Ilya Ilienko. He is a modern CFO and board-level advisor with over 25 years of experience across Big Four advisory, investment banking, and nonprofit and regulatory environments. He currently serves as CFO of Halens and holds board appointments with the Institute of Management Accountants and Florence Darlington Technical College. Ilya has authored a publication on AI adoption, ESG, small business, and corporate governance. He is engaged in research on AI in business management and has contributed to the COSO Global Governance and Internal Control Framework. He earned a dual MBA in finance and public accounting with highest distinction from Fordham University and believes the modern CFO must be both a strategist and a builder, advancing growth with integrity. Welcome, and please go ahead, doctors, with your presentation.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Buenos días, buenas tardes, saludos, greetings to everyone. We are happy, my colleague Ilya and I, to present in this really good, I don't know the name, but it's like workshop. So we are glad to be here with you. Thank you, Dr. Morales. Muchas gracias, Doris, por la invitación. It's all yours, Ilya.
Sure. Bienvenidos, friends. Hopefully everyone is all right. Thank you for welcoming us. That was a great segue and introduction by Yuri of us. And thanks again. So hopefully you guys, can everyone hear me? Yes. Yes, everyone can hear me? I'm not sure. Okay, I will just continue. I hope you guys like our angle on AI. What we're going to focus on is AI, how it's related in financial disclosures. So in other words, we'll tell you what this is about, what disclosures and AI issues that we're talking about, and we'll give you some examples of some of the larger cases that we have been looking at closely, and that we will then translate into our larger population of participating companies. And then we'll close with some, interesting thoughts and questions.
Yeah. So this is part of one of our research in progress. So we'll give also examples and justifications of what we are doing through the presentation. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to follow the slide, but basically, hopefully this will hook you guys in. So it's an interesting take on AI. What do we see in AI? AI is exploding in the last many, many years. It's been around for a long time, but it's exploded in the last couple of years. It's the hot technology. So we see huge companies saying that they're making a lot more revenue because, they're cutting costs, they're placing employees. AI is everywhere. It's exploding. Everything is great. Pink glasses. Everything is rosy. But it's not so, because there are AI incidents that happen all around. All you have to do is Google. We'll show you some examples, some interesting examples here, but they're everywhere. All you have to do is just Google them. However, when you do Google them and you find out that companies have lost billions of dollars, that real human lives have been lost and put at stake with this AI technology, and real large, huge corporations using this technology, having these incidents and losing this money. Professor Ahmad and I were wondering, where is this disclosed? It's all advertised everywhere when they make revenue, when they save money. But what happens when stuff breaks? What happens when people die? Like Tesla, other examples we'll show you. So we want to see what are the regulatory disclosures in the financial markets relating to these types of things. Ahmad, you want me to?
Yes. Here we have some examples of really significant, or in accounting terminology, material incidents, Boeing, Zillow, etc. So we will go through these examples in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. So basically, we're also looking at, corporate disclosures, SEC. Where does this bad stuff show up? And bad stuff relating to what? This is the meat of our study. The bad stuff relating to technology that includes AI, robotics, blockchain, IoT. Those technologies are, for the most part, all related and overlap in some way. But the main focus is going to be on AI.
Yeah.
Ahmad?
Yes. Really, in this presentation, we'll focus more on generative AI. It is a hot topic, and we have opportunity to publish more articles about it. This is why we are academics, so this is why we are presenting mainly about generative AI.
I believe that with AI, our research, Professor Ahmad and my research is cutting edge because these incidents are just the cream of the crop. It's just the beginning. We only see the benefits. We see very little of the ethical challenges and things in the news, but there are things happening under the surface that are really, really bad. I actually just recently published a paper on AI threats. But let's continue.
Yes. So these are some challenges. Okay, we are looking about challenges more than benefits, really. It is not only on this, research in progress, but in other investigations that we have. We are more skeptical. Skepticism is part of what we do as CPAs, both of us. We do these things. So we are very cautious about what we are doing. So data privacy and security is very important for us. Regulations, SEC, environmental impact, ESG, and how to deal with biases from generative AI. These are some challenges that we are trying to include in our research. Yes, Ilya.
Robotics process automation is, anywhere where robots are used. Robotics is usually integrated with AI and other technologies. And for example, when you think of robotics automation, you can think of Tesla. So has Tesla had any incidents? We will discuss this. RPA benefits, they save money. All of the benefits are pretty much the same across the line. Automation across all of these technologies. Automation, savings, replace people, make more money, improve accuracy. It's easier to build and scale. But again, it has the ethical challenges and considerations that are not being discussed. And this is particularly interesting to all of us, and especially in this forum with the Universidad and us, because there's not only US regulatory frameworks that are coming out with this, but European regulatory frameworks. And these incidents will only increase. So we can put spotlight on us in this forum here.
Yeah. One point here, transparency and accountability. Is it our decision to how to use generative AI? Yes, of course. But how to report it is another issue. And we have rules in accounting that we have to follow, like SEC guidance, etc. So we'll discuss this again.
Yes.
Let's skip this one, Ilya, because no, this is about about
these
the
are
cases.
huge accidents.
Yeah, we need it. Yes, please.
Okay, so these are really just memorable and things that were all over the news. That's why we put them there, because they're huge, gigantic global companies. You know that Boeing had a number of accidents relating to AI and especially robotics, where doors were blown off of the airplanes. There were even a number of deaths in one incident. You could see 346 deaths, but there were other injuries, and this was very, very material. You can see $20+ billion in fines for Boeing. Lives impacted. They were brought in front of Congress. When someone is brought in front of Congress, company, that means it's a huge deal. They're rewriting regulatory frameworks. The other one is Air Canada. Their chatbot gave away millions of dollars worth of refunds that the company was then held liable for. And canceled and did other things with flights. The GM robotaxi deployment caused multiple accidents and caused injuries and other things. And this led to an overhaul in the transportation regulatory framework in California, for example. And they lost their license there. These are huge, huge things for a company when you think of big multi-billion-dollar companies. IBM Watson is a special one we put in there. This is an introduction. IBM Watson in healthcare. I don't know if you know about this case. They developed cancer technology that will detect cancer and will be basically foolproof. We'll go into that. It was a complete total failure, $4 billion lost. one huge healthcare institution lost a ton of money, lost its division. There were a lot of people that were under fire, and it just did not go anywhere. And it also created harm in the medical field.
Now, we determined, or we've found about 60 plus incidents similar to these ones, but we are searching for more to make our research a robust research, and to have more empirical statistical results about what we are doing. So we are in trying to find more about it. Preliminary conclusion or summary, Ilya?
So this is what this is the IBM example in a little more depth. So they promised easy access to this technology that will catch people's cancer earlier, and it's going to be much cheaper to scan for cancer. And you can see that it wasn't a little program. It was deployed, and these are just some of the huge hospitals. And one of the hospitals had to close the entire wing because of this debacle and lost a ton of money. So it was basically proved worthless. In some instances, it created harmful recommendations, wrong cancers, and wrong diagnoses. And it was all over the news. The project was plowed money into. It had to be eventually decommissioned. It ran for close to a decade, and then it was unwound and sold, at a 90% loss. So we were looking at where is this? Yes, where is this enclosed? Where is this disclosed? Where is this loss disclosed in the IBM SEC filings, regulatory filings, press releases, or anything like that? And what we were seeing is divestitures, portfolio transformation. There was no mention of AI harm, cancer, technology, losses, none of it.
So it seems that they are not disclosing what they should disclose. Mainly, we are looking for, their assertions. Sentences in the financial statements notes, particularly item 7 and item 8, according to the 10Ks and also in 8Ks. The differences between 10Ks are mainly annual reporting, and 8Ks when they have material anything to report to their stakeholders. So we are looking at these two reporting format in the Securities Exchange Commission webpage.
Mm-hmm. How are they?
But it is very difficult to read. Just the general point of view about the disclosure discussion.
So I think the disclosure discussion is loose on content. There is basically nothing out there. So here's an example on the slides. If you can read it, fine. If not, up on top is the IBM 10K. IBM 10K in the year when this Watson technology was sold. It was sold at a 90% loss to an outside company. And so we searched the entire 10K for the name Watson, their flagship technology. It appeared one time. So there was no other mention of Watson technology. But don't you think if this is the point where you're losing all this money and you're selling off the assets, wouldn't that Watson be mentioned at least a couple of times in the 500 pages of the 10K? No, nothing. There was nothing. It was called a divestiture, software platform reintegration, reshuffling of systems. That's it. It's like looking at for a needle in a haystack, a needle that's going to be renamed into something else. And, even in their IBM's own disclosure, they don't even admit to.
Let me interrupt you, Ilya. because we don't have enough time. Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
we are looking at the management discretion about these things, and these are other examples, right? Let's jump to what we are doing. If you can say something, Ilya.
Sure, of course. I mean, we're looking at a population of 60 plus companies that are name brands like Amazon, Tesla, and things like that. We're going to go into seeing how these things are reported on the 10Ks, and if they're accurate, if they're transparent, and what the frequency of those reports are, and how forthcoming are they. And this is in line with other research that Professor Ahmad and myself are doing on AI. And like I said, I recently wrote a paper on AI autonomous threats. So
yeah, we are in about disclosure in 10Ks and 8Ks in the early stages. We hopefully within perhaps 1 or 2 months, we will be ready to submit our article about it. In summary, companies has the duty to and responsibility regarding how to use generative AI or AI. I will tell something about AACSB. Last month, they said, we are not going to provide you universities guidance about AI, how to use AI, because it's a tool and it is your responsibility how to use it. So yes, it is our responsibility as auditors and accountants how to use AI or generative AI. Any questions, comments, hints? We are happy to try to answer your questions.
thank you very much for having us. I think this is going to be a very interesting research.
Thank you, Edward. Please remain connected for the kind of response and answer our question, please. We have a question, Mr. Ms. Vicente Enriquez.
Hi, congratulations for your research. It's really interesting. I'm just curious to see, what do you see as the root cause challenges behind this issue, mainly of transparency? Do you think it's a matter of governance, AI skills, adoption? How do you see that behind the challenge?
Yes, thank you for this good question. It is management discretion to disclose good things and to hide, something that they are willing not to disclose it immediately, because if they disclose it immediately, what will happen with the share prices? So it is a complex situation, and companies, we know that companies, management manipulate or smooth these type of reports. So this is another example how management minimize the effect of issues and really disclose the good things immediately so they can get benefits of that. This is an important aspect for SEC and other accounting bodies to address these aspects. Why is that? Okay, we have guidance, but the guidance are general. They leave the responsibility to management, and we have responsibility as auditor, how we can then advise our clients to report adequately these incidents. So really, it's a complex situation about reporting this aspect, and it used to be for other incidents all the time. Ilya, if you can add.
I think these are different types of disclosures. I think this is a different environment. AI is very sexy now, and the companies that can make AI successful will show themselves as the face. So you're not only admitting to your faults, but you're also admitting to your weakness within the market. So as much as it's possible, I agree with Dr. Juma that there will be swept or smoothed out, swept under the carpet, under the rug, or smoothed out in a way to not impact the reputation of the company. However, there are more stringent frameworks in terms of, for example, financial losses by investment banks. They have to disclose what they lost and how. And there is much more transparency surrounding this. But on this segment, on the AI and technology, all they do is, oh, this is great, this is great, this is great. But on the inverse, when things happen, when there's actual lives lost, there's nothing. It's just divestiture. There was a divestiture. That's it. The end. Is that
this
fair?
is what, this is why we are looking at the negative side of the story, not only about the positive side of it. Yeah, I think.
Hi, thanks for your presentation. Regarding the Watson example that you guys mentioned, that should have been disclosed in the financial statements as a contingency or as a unaccrued liability under the current rules that we have regarding financial reporting, right?
Yeah, it's how to report about contingency, how they, it is subjective. How we
if it's a lawsuit of that magnitude,
yes,
a material lawsuit, so it should be disclosed.
Something in theory and how they should do it, and how then they consider it in when they report the financial statement in practice. As a professor, I will say exactly the same as what you are saying. However, in practice, we see companies, they prefer to pay penalties, whatever they pay, it's okay for them, and they say it is less than this percentage, and that's it. And they don't, because these are very big companies. Yes, we see these numbers very big. However, for them, it's peanuts. It's not very big. So it depends on the management decision. And this is the problem that we are looking at. Why they are not reporting these contingencies, and all these things that they should report. This is our aim now, to understand and to document, more than understanding, to document that we have deficiencies in reporting. So to motivate accounting bodies to react to these things. You are right, absolutely right, about what they should do. But
stipulating that you should have reported that, and they didn't do so. How is that going to change if we have now a new rule that says that I should report, because it has to be a material transaction. I mean, if they are not reporting now that they are required to do so, how making a new rule will make them report? I mean, if they were not going to report anyway, I don't see how this changes their frame of mind.
Yes, it is difficult, yeah. One of the concepts that I am working with for many years is the materiality concepts. Maybe I have 4 or 5 articles about it. And really, in our field, in accounting, we speak a lot about materiality, but we provide little guidance about it. And until now, from colleagues, from, good universities here, when I discuss these aspects with them, they stop. They say it's hard to get in the materiality and to provide, let's say 2% of net income. No, it's the management discretion. So they don't want to interfere with what management is doing. I can say it could be political thing.
Well, I can.
Yeah. Yes, Ilya.
Yes, if you'd like me to chime in. I mean, this answer, this question is so delicious, it's almost tasty.
Yes.
Because so there are forward-looking disclosures in all the 10Ks and other financial statements. They talk about the risks associated with technologies. And for example, the passage is this big, literally, in the entire thing. But then when you look at technology sections and everywhere where they make money, there's asterisks. And there's all these promising, with the invent of this technology, it's going to be great. But there's no risk. The risk is only on top, and it says there may be risk related to technology. But don't you think if this is the year you are closing on a huge loss and a huge project that failed, shouldn't there be a little bit more about risks? Well, mention the risk. You're going through it now. You're closing on a $4 billion loss. It's everywhere in the news. Why not? But that's where it is.
Ilya describes item 1 from 10Ks and item 1A. This is what we observed from these items in the 10Ks. Yes, yeah. There is a discrepancy between what they should do and what they are doing. I agree totally with you about it.
And the second question, in the case of multinational entities, there is the challenge of which legal framework I'm going to use. For example, there are some requirements, disclosures, things that are done in Europe and US, they do it differently. For example, they are now trying to say that the federal government is the one that should control the regulatory aspects of that. And actually, I think 3-4 days ago, President Trump issued actually by executive order, he likes to do, like the things he thinks should be addressed. So they are not the same regulatory requirements in Europe and in US, just to take 2 places. I'm not considering China or South America or other places. So which framework we should use at the moment of saying this has to be disclosed because you are violating the law?
Yes, good observation, and yes, I agree.
If you want, I can take it.
Yeah. Take it, Elliot.
So I think I'm in a good position to speak to this. I held a head office controller position at Credit Suisse for 3 to 5 years, and that's a global investment bank. So I can speak to both aspects of materiality decision making and how it's out there, and also I can speak as to the regulatory frameworks. For example, with Credit Suisse, it's a global bank, so it does business in the European Union and Asia, so forth. You have to abide by the critical frameworks and laws within that jurisdiction. So that's why we have an IFRS reporting, framework for accounting for Europe, and we have GAAP. But we're trying to merge those things too. Both things are not perfect, but we're trying to merge them to make it easier for society and for the practice and industry at large. So I think that's what we're going to go. Maybe EU will be a little more conservative. Maybe USA will be more conservative. But eventually there will be frameworks and they will develop. And companies that will want to show that they are good faith participants in the industry will adopt those frameworks willingly, because you don't want to be like the guy who's hiding stuff. So that's where we're going to go. But we're not there yet. AI is being hyped up, but everything is being covered. That's negative. So does that?
It is part of it, Ilya. However, we have many years talking about this, and really we are not moving toward a solution yet, complete solution yet. So yeah, this is very excellent comment, colleague, and we appreciate it. It is not in our, we should consider this in our research, of course.
Another question.
Yes.
Yes. Professor Jose Rivera.
Thank you, Dr. Juma. Thank you, Mr. Ilienko. Very interesting presentation. Here's this is my takeaway. The first one is I agree with Mr. Ilienko about AI being very sexy and being hyped up, and the public sector, particularly the government of the United States, is quite obsessed with it. We saw a controversy in the Pentagon with the Secretary of Defense pushing or pressuring of the matrix of Claude, the parent company. I forgot. It's anyway. The problem here that I see is, first of all, public relations divisions, PR takes charge, and then they spin the problem and they hide it very deep into the all of the framework that they're saying in publicly. And the other one is regulation. I had a conversation with a former student of mine, a brilliant lawyer, by the way, and then all of a sudden she said, as we were having lunch, that the problem with AI, with this 2023, it's already becoming very high, AI, I mean. And she's saying the problem is that the governments do not have the public sector does not have enough experts to create a framework of what AI is, much less regulated. And if they do, which they don't, they are simply distracted with all of the other things, and that government has to deal with. And there's political polarization, so again, there's not enough time to regulate AI, and they don't stay up to date enough to regulate it. And finally, I mean, the general public is there's no general public indignation when the fiascos occur. Especially, I wasn't aware of the IBM Watson one and the one from Air Canada. I was aware of the Boeing fiasco, especially with the softwares, and they were not, and they marginalized the whistleblower. But I think there's not enough public indignation. I think part of it is because most of the public is just entertained with their AI in their phones, and they don't really, they want to be angry about it, but they're not really, because they're being entertained by all of the bits and pieces in social media and AI. I just wanted to say thank you for your work, and again, I'm looking forward to reading your research.
Thank you very much. Really, very excellent comments and suggestions, and we agree with you. Really, it is similar to what AACSB sent last month, that it's your responsibility, and we are not going to provide as teachers guidance for you how to use AI. It is, yes, our responsibility. Thank you very much. Ilya, do you want to add something?
No, I think that this was. I'm sorry. I'm doing this conference from New York, from my parents' place. I have a health thing going on, but this is an unexpectedly excellent panel. I was so glad that I could carve out the time to, and really thoughtful questions. We could have explored this much further, because they're very, very interesting regarding frameworks and reporting. So, thank you guys for having us.
Thank you, Professor Vieto. Thank you, Dr. Juma. We move to the next presentation. So our next presentation of the day, titled Accounting in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, Disclosure Practices Among U.S. Technology-Driven Companies. It will also be presented by Dr. Juma, who has already been introduced, along with Dr. Abdullah Al-Bisri. Abdullah Al-Bisri is currently an associate professor of information management and business analytics at the Feliciano School of Business, Montclair State University. He received his PhD in Management Information System from Sheldon B. Luther School of Business, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, in August 2014. Dr. Al-Bisri's research focused on using AI solutions and machine learning techniques for financial fraud detection, blockchain applications, and the role of information systems in sustainability. Before joining academia, Dr. Al-Bisri worked as a business consultant in the banking industry. Dr. Al-Bisri has published articles in the Journal of Information Systems, Communication of the Association for Information Systems, Information Systems for 20 years, International Journal of Information Management, and others. He served or has served as an associate editor for the communication of the Association for Information Systems and a guest editor for Information System Continuous, as well as with other editorial decisions in the conference. Welcome, and please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me to this workshop. So I'm honored to be presenting at this workshop. You can hear me, correct?
Yes, we do.
Yes, thank you. Yes, this research, Dr. Juma, I've been working with him on several research projects in the last several years, and we're intersection of accounting and information systems and AI, and definitely this research more falls on the accounting side, but we're collaborating on these topics, and in this research in specific, we're looking at since today all the companies, US listed technology driven companies, all companies want to disclose AI related activities in their filings, and AI became nowadays embedded in all business operations. Now companies face increasing pressure to explain the implications of this AI in terms of strategic financial governance implications. But the existing accounting standards don't provide clear AI-specific guidance. So and this relates to the previous presentation where we talked about how are the requirements for reporting. So this creates discretionary reporting and raises questions about transparency, comparability, and the risk of what regulators increasingly call AI washing. So this study examines both the determinants and the quality of these disclosures.
Yeah, thank you, Abdallah. Thank you,
Yes.
Dr. Albizri. Really, I have to recognize that these are pieces from larger projects. So this is why we try to minimize, the discussion, because part of our team from computer science, so they do the programming things, they do the algorithm things, they do other things for us, and the team is larger than the three of us. So I have to recognize that it's not only us. We have other people working with us in these projects. Specialists in LLM, specialists in Python, specialists. I know that Abdallah, Dr. Albizri is a specialist in some of these areas because he is from MIS, but I rely on them on many things that they do for us. We have collected about 426
it is on the next slide, but if you want me to mention the research question before, so okay. Yeah, the research questions only in this part of the project is addressing first, how do technology-driven firms disclose AI-related information in their 10K filings, and to what extent do these disclosures align with accounting standards and regulatory expectations? And the second is question, how do companies' characteristics influence AI disclosure practices? So we're looking at both the content of disclosure and the firm level factors associated with whether firms disclose AI more extensively or strategically. And definitely we're using a theoretical lens based on signaling theory and resource-based view. Since like from signal perspective, firms use AI disclosure to reduce information asymmetry and communicate innovation capability, strategic intent, and credibility to external stakeholders. From the resource-based view perspective, AI capabilities can be viewed as a firm-specific intangible resources that contribute to competitive advantage. So AI disclosure may serve both compliance and strategic purposes. At the same time, disclosure is constrained by reporting standards and by firm desire to avoid regulatory or reputational risk. So there's this tension between transparency and impression management. And if you can go, Dr. Juma, to the next slide.
Yeah, we have about 426 companies. We have selected only NAICS 51 and 52 because of their characteristics. They are mainly related to technology and financial service sectors, not financial, not banks. This is why we selected these. Then we have identified what they have said in 10Ks, particularly as the other presentation and item 7 and item 8. So the total, we have 100 companies with full data and companies here about 1,000 plus. So the size of our research is comparable with other research. Do you want to add something?
No, that's it.
Well, these are the variables that we have used in the research. The paper is coming, accepted, part of the research. It's not full. A short paper in accounting applied research. But we are continuing doing more papers in the same topic. So we have the dependent variable regarding if they report or not. So it's binary regression. If they mentioned anything about strategy in their assertions, any accounting standards codification, rules, accounting rules or regulation. So it is 1-0 binary. Then the independent variables, explanatory variables, we include several variables like R&D intensity, intangible intensity, size, age, other financial variables. These are definitions, and here I don't think that you are, it is common definitions about these things. So I will, if you permit me, Dr. Albese, I will skip these things. It is normal in many research. Here, profitability anomaly. The relationship between weak financial performance measured by return on asset and how they disclose AI in their financial statements. You see the relationship is negative, right? If they have low return on assets, then they say good things about AI in their financial statements. It is similar to the presentation that Ilya and I presented before, but here we have evidence, empirical evidence about it. Anything you want to add, Besri?
No, thank you.
Then we compare with using other characteristics like the size of the company, the size we have proxied by natural logarithm of assets and natural logarithm of employees. There are some insights from that. And the age, we couldn't find relevant significance about the age, which is, we need to explore more about it in further research. So these are examples of what we are doing, variables that we are doing. Albezri? Abdullah?
Yes. So as you said, yes, the analysis showed that there are 4 broad categories of disclosure maturity: the leaders in compliance and state disclosure, such as Coinbase, then there's firms that link AI to strategy, accounting, treatment, and governance. And and the other categories, some firms are compliant but limited. They follow the rules but provide little strategic context. And there's the other category, third category, some firms show partial or ambiguous compliance. And the final category were weak or minimal disclosures where AI is mentioned vaguely without meaningful accounting or governance detail. So those are like the insights from the results.
Thank you. These are the main stakeholder or influencing bodies about what we are doing. Capital market investors, of course, they will influence managers how to report, societal trust, our customers, etc., the people around us, and regulation, particularly SEC. SEC had some guidance about technology and particularly about AI. Should we do, this is perhaps related to a question that we had before. Should we have standardization about reporting? I have seen that they are avoiding to have standardization. As you know, these accounting bodies are controlled by big firms. It's not a secret. So if they want accounting standards codification or a gap or a rule, for sure they will get it. So this is one of the deficiencies that we have in our market. It is out of record, okay? But we know it. Okay, so it is hard to have these rules, clear rules, how to do it, etc. They leave it for management discretion. This is my 2 cents, I can say. Okay. I have to be, normally Dr. Alberto and I, we don't present this empirical research in 15 minutes. Normally we present this because we expand, and I have to show and to cut some of these explanations, because we used to present for 1 hour, at least 45 minutes. But because of the nature of the workshop, this is why I had to cut part of our discussion. But we can expand, because now we have opportunity to expand what we are doing. If you ask us questions or comments, so we can improve what we are doing. Here, our information, you can follow us in LinkedIn, and also you can send us comments, questions by email. Okay. It's yours, Dr. Morales.
Thank you. It seems like at the end, and I know you didn't make a final recommendation, but you are like suggesting that some kind of standardization regarding reporting should be adopted. Again, with the constraints that we have, that you got pointed out with your analysis, the type of company that does this depends upon the type of company, size of the company, what they are engaging, how much profit they have. So I understand the risk that put a standard rule for companies with different elements. It's going to be very hard, but the way I see it, please elaborate. You are proposing that some kind of standardization should be aimed.
Yes, in the paper, yes, we recommended that, and we are pushing toward that. It's not only in this article, in other articles, in different articles that we published about data breaches, about blockchain, etc., and similar topics. Yes, we argue about it, and we perceive that in academia, yes, they are trying to motivate accounting bodies to move toward that. And we have seen SEC providing general guidance, which is good. However, we want more. As you are saying, we want more. We want more guidance, more rules. And this is the aim. We will do our part. We will try to recommend sending messages. And I think, I will go back to web materiality. Maybe, I don't remember, but it is more than 20 years. I have a small article about materiality, and I was so happy to see that a court cited the article for a litigation, to solve a litigation. So we don't minimize what we are doing. We are trying, yes. We can't solve in an article, it's true, but at least we do something. We are trying to tell them. And at the end, it is the management responsibility to be transparent, to be ethical, and to report things, any incidents about AI or deficiencies. We have internal control, reporting. If they report, because if they have deficiencies in their systems, we assume they should report it. Do they really report these things? We know most of these internal control reports are clean reports. So yeah, they are providing evidence that they are not following these rules. And I totally agree with you. We should continue working with this. We should continue telling these accounting agencies, you have to do more. And thank you. I appreciate your comment. It is really, important for our field, for accounting. And I think you are an accountant, right?
Yes, yes, I am. I'm a CPA.
Yeah, because these questions, it's from a practitioner, yeah? Thank you. Questions? Another questions, please?
In my case, I'm curious to know, have you think about how can stakeholders can distinguish between genuine use of AI and aspirational signaling in corporate disclosures?
Sorry, can you say it in Spanish? I like to speak Spanish,
I know, I think it's for the other person, but let me say it
because
again.
I couldn't because of the communication. Really, Abdullah, have you captured everything?
No.
No. This one.
How can stakeholders distinguish between the genuine use of AI and the aspirational signaling in corporate disclosures?
Yes, this we are dealing regarding this aspect in our area. The first presentation. Yeah, yes, and Ilya mentioned things about how attractive AI to say good things about companies. Yeah, in this research we are more empiricists. We have only dependent variables, classical work. We are doing logistic regression, but it's good for future work to mix between the two pieces of our research, and yes, to do what you are saying, to make it mix methodology, not only empirical. In this research, we didn't make it, right, Dr. Albizri?
Yes, correct.
But yes, we are doing, Elienko and I, we are working with this in the other project. Good comments. Sometimes it's good to not to have just one methodology, to have more than, mixed methodology, I can say.
Thank you, professors. Thank you, Dr. Juma. Thank you, Dr. Albizri. No more questions.
If you can let me say one thing, please. Yo soy puertorriqueño, no en sangre, pero en realidad, soy, vamos a decir, en sentimiento, sí, soy puertorriqueño. Mis nietos son vamos a decir 50 o más de 50% puertorriqueños. Es un placer estar contigo, amigos. En cualquier momento, nosotros somos complacidos por esta invitación y le agradezco mucho. Buenas tardes.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Cuídense mucho.
De Puerto Rico. Nos vemos pronto en las playas.
Sí, es importante para mí. Okay, bye.
Okay. The final presentation of this symposium is titled Global Drivers of Artificial Intelligence Development and Empirical Study Using the Global AI Index Across 62 Countries, presented by Dr. Ángel M. Ojeda Castro. Dr. Ángel Ojeda Castro is a professor in the Department of Information System at Gurabo campus of Universidad Ana Jiménez. Dr. Ojeda has published 29 research articles on topics such as artificial intelligence, big data, cybersecurity, data warehousing, e-government, expert systems, and social networks. He has presented more than 30 international conferences in countries including Argentina, the United States, Mexico, Poland, Peru, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic. His research has been cited by other scholars around the world. Welcome, Dr. Ojeda. Please go ahead with your presentation. Sí, Ángel Ojeda. Ve, míralo ahí.
¿Me escuchan ahora? Hello?
Sí.
Everybody? Listen to me? Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, let me present I love to the presentation. Let me. Okay,
Ahora, doctor Ojeda.
hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I try to the loading of the PowerPoint presentations. Let me share screen and let me. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Everybody can view to the presentation?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, the presentation to the global driver of AI is one study to the considered to the 62 countries in the world. Okay. Is presenting to the problems is what is important to the AI in this era, supporting data tours in normally digital tour in innovation ecosystem dependent of the human on the human resources Another is the problem of the strategy business model integrate to the effective government mechanisms to multi-sector collaboration. Another author indicate to the technological infrastructure and governance mechanisms is necessary to the building trust, to the shared norms or institution framework. And the last author is an indicator to the exchange to the knowledge is essential to creating to the value to the development or generating to the innovation. Okay, and this study is considered when data set in the data secondary data is difference index, including to the different variables, is considered to the 62 countries. And what is in variable considered on this research is talent is the first variable, is the skilled professional to development of the AI solution. Is the second variable is the infrastructure, is access to the infrastructure. The electricity is the internet of supercomputing, and another or infrastructure necessary to the development of the AI, natural AI. The another variable is considered in this research is the operating environment, is what is on the regulatory policies and public opinion to the development of AI. And variable number 4 is the innovation. Innovation in this study is enjoined to two different indicators. For the first indicator is in a research, and the second indicator is in development. For the innovation, research is on the degree of specialization to the research, a number of publication and citation to the recognized to the academic journals. And another reason in development is the creation of the platform of development innovation AI. And the last is the variable is the investment, and this investment considered two different indicators. For the first indicators in the government strategy, and the second indicators is in commercial strategy. Government strategies is national government spend on a strategy plan to development of the AI, and the commercial strategy is with the level of the business activity is an investment, and the commissioner to the fundamental to the AI. This research considered on the 4 main questions is what is some relation with the relation to the how to the talent infrastructure operating environment is in relation to the AI innovation. But the second question is what is some relation between in the innovation and investment. And the number 3 question is how can understanding to the relationship for the national strategies and the policies enhance to adoption AI. And the last question is government strategy and commercial activity is promoting to the development environment to innovation of AI. And this research is development of the 4 principal hypotheses, as the talent has a positive effect for the AI innovation. The second is the infrastructure has a positive effect of the AI innovation, and operating environment has a positive effect innovation. And the last hypothesis, innovation has a positive effect of investment. For the methodologies included of this research, is this research consider using on the platform, the Kaggle.com, is included for the data sets of raw data and using of the implementation of the dashboard of Power BI and using of the software PLSM, PLS, EM software is to the consider for the analyze to the multivariate statistical techniques. And the last procedure is using of the decision tree of the analysis with to the conductor. And this is adoption to the implementation on the another platform with the name is AI AI study is and using of the Python for development of the code to the necessary to the analyze of the different variables to the procedure. And this slide can view to the OR index. In this case, using of the quantity variables and the OR index, and in the using to the each indicator for the talent, infrastructure, operating environment, development, research, government, commercial. And then is can view to the 62 countries of the analysis data. Okay, with the first is the visualizations of the each index. For example, the first index is a talent index. Is considered of the what is on the is the high index is the USA is the more high index, and the is China is another is the United Kingdom, and India is the more development to the development of talent index. And the second visualization in the right is of the infrastructure index is the same of the whole country. Okay, no, maybe it's no big gaps or different to the infrastructure. Operating environment index is the same as the all country is same operating environment. And the another index is the AI development index. For example, is the AI development is of USA, China, is India, is the development for the AI index. AI research is more big is USA. Well, and China, and commercial index is development to the USA and China, and the government strategy is the same of the all country. The next procedure is development analyze of the relationship of the all variables. For example, is this talent is measures of the variable talent, infrastructure for the infrastructure, operating environment, and the innovation consider development and research. Investment considered for the commercial and government strategy. What the resource is to the is T value. Is T value is higher to the 1.64 is the significance is the effect to the talent to the innovation is the same for the infrastructure of the innovation, but is one little problem to the all countries. A specific operating environment is all country is high, but the no development to the AI and no research to the all country. And this is no significant relationship for the operating environment to the innovation. But the last hypothesis of with the measures to the innovation to investment is t-value is a 14, is a very high, and t-value is a very strong to AI innovation, is a very considered to the development of investment for the whole country. Okay, and is the out coefficient is a coefficient is correlation and coefficient is very big to the talent to the innovation is in 0.644, and the high coefficient correlation is 0.6, 0.863 is very high, is a very high, is a correlation is strong to the innovation to investment. But the innovation is a determination of coefficient is a 67.7% is explained to the three variables is implications of the innovation. But the innovation relationship to the investment is investments is explained to the 0.745, or is the determination coefficient is very high to explain only for the innovation. Now, and what is the finding on this table is some show to the resource is one hypothesis is a one surprise when with the analysis of the data is the operating environment has the positive effect. Innovation is not supporting because is the operating environment is that high with the innovation considered to the development and research is down. Okay, or hypothesis is with considered evidence is the support. And in this new state to the analyze with the consider of the decision tree for using for the algorithm to the AI Studio and Python using to the what is and this step is important because for the research analyze in this step to the qualitative variables and combine to the quantitative variables to the difference of the for the considered for the group considered to the political regime. What is the other variable considered example? Let me previous to the table, and this algorithm is the analyzed to the cluster for the income group and political regime is analyzed for the included combining for the another or index. Okay, it's a new step to this research, but the conclusions of the research is one finding is important with of the 62 countries of the 74 countries need improve to research with this country like to the development of the AI innovations is necessary improve to the research. Then another point is important for the 55 countries of the 62 is the 88.7% need to improve improve their commercial strategy. Is the 2 point important to the conclusion of this study. Okay.
Dr. Ojeda, and go over to our reaction panel.
Thank you, Dr. Ojeda. Very interesting. I'm curious to have your perspective regarding what opportunities do you see for Puerto Rico to get into the global AI index, given the fact of our strength and also of our challenges?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. So the Puerto Rico, Primary for Puerto Rico, this is not considered on this index. It's on communication for the statistic department in Puerto Rico with government, statistics government in Puerto Rico to the development for the input to the raw data on the different variables, for the talent. For me, what is my opinion in the Puerto Rico, and not initially to the development of the talent, and now in Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico need to the infrastructure. Infrastructure is a necessary development to the achieve to relationship to the innovation. Is in Puerto Rico is universities is a need, or university need development of research in the AI. For example, the Puerto Rico need of the one supercomputing is maybe send two supercomputer. I need more funding to the development to the experimental to the supercomputing to measures of an AI innovation. For me, this talent is as good. Need for the infrastructure maybe is the increase to the more development, and the environment operating is need the need to the development. Okay, maybe is answer the question. I know.
I agree, and I also think that we need to start thinking of moving from AI isolated initiative to a more ecosystem level strategy. So I think that's why it's so interesting.
Puerto Rico need for the ecosystem development. For example, Puerto Rico have in this moment have the user to experiment for the AI. For example, it's the two different AI. Is the generative AI, and another is the AI for analysis. It's necessary. Why? Because for the government of Puerto Rico, private business need of the analyze. What types analyze? The type is descriptive analyze, diagnostic analyze, predictive analyze, no problem in Puerto Rico. But the problem is prescriptive analyze. It's necessary when using adoption for the AI to the decision making, what they achieved another strategy for the business or government.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm also concerned regarding the Puerto Rico side of it. You mentioned, I think, talent should be like the main driver that should be addressed. But then that has two elements, because we have the newer generations, the younger people that still studying at the college, and that they might learn something about AI at college. But then we have existing people that's already working in the companies that they didn't learn about AI in college. How we upskill those persons in order for them to be able to use it efficiently? Because I mean, the talent has to be the newer people that we have, but also the existing workforce that we have. Do you think that's a responsibility of the colleges, of the private sector? It's a joint responsibility, government, I don't know.
Yeah. Or when it is initially, normally is necessary in implementing for the political AI policy on the university and the government, and is a capacity for the student. What initially in the high school, for example, normally is initially for the natural science only. Is mathematics, is science. I need for another is initially for the curriculum in the development for the coding. If the coding is important initially, then university is integrating to the research in the undergraduate student at beginning to the integration development of the talent.
And I will add that I think that we need to move from teaching digital literacy to teaching AI literacy. And that's a big change that academic institutions have to do, and also the government. So
Yeah, okay. When is literacy is important, but the AI is the or. For example, in 1970, that initially for the spark system, okay? When in 1998, in 1990, I beginning for the business intelligence, for the using different algorithm. For example, when initial for the data mining, machine learning, deep learning, text mining, when you using all the all is the AI. It's a transformation for the algorithm. Is at this moment is a more advanced algorithm. A professor and the student is exposed to the experimenter, to the for me for generate no problem. I need to the another step is analyze. Analyze is a resolve of the other problem.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ojeda. I appreciate your participation. Now I would like to give our responder a turn so they can share their final comments and to a large extent summarize the contributions and importance of these research studies. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I was very happy to be here. Some topics, some of which I knew about them, some of were new to me and never thought about them. So I was very happy that we are having this initiative that is being discussed in a holistic manner, that we are trying to cover a lot of different areas at the same time. I think this is a working process. In AI, it changes every day. Same AI that we had a year ago, and same AI we're going to have a year from now. So I think these kind of conversations are very important in order to be able to try to keep up with all the changes and things that are being occurring at the same time all over the world. So very happy to be here. I'm very to hear all of you.
And from my side, thank you very much for sharing your research. It has been very interesting to know so many different perspectives of different topics. But at the end, I think that everything sticks to build a more reliable, responsible, and trustworthy AI for the benefit of everyone. And in my case, which I promote a law which is more human-centered, putting the human being in the center of everything that we develop could make a huge difference. So thank you so much for your contribution.
Sharing their research and knowledge today, how they apply AI across different disciplines. It has been a privilege to have their diverse contributions. I also thank our reaction panel. It has been a luxury to have professionals of your caliber. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Kenneth. I hope that in the near future, we can continue discussing the applicability and disruption of AI across all industries. Today, we have seen a wide range of research showing how AI is changing many fields. First, we learned about using AI in personal and organizational knowledge management. The provenance by design approach helps keep track of ideas and ensure that AI suggestions are marked before becoming part of our own work. In literature, we saw that AI can help translate poetry, but it cannot fully replace human translation. Human creativity, cultural understanding, and interpretation are still essential for preserving the meaning and beauty of poems. In accounting and finance, research showed that AI adoption depends on leadership, data-driven decision-making, and strong analytical skills. Traditional tools like Excel can slow progress, so training and support are the key to success. We also explore how companies report the AI use. There is a lot of variation, and some firms give clear, detailed information while others do not. This highlights the need for clear standards and transparency. Finally, global research shows that talent, technology, and supporting environments are critical for AI innovation. National strategies, education, and business ecosystems all help countries develop stronger AI capabilities. Overall, today's presentation showed both the opportunity and challenges of AI. We learned that AI can drive innovation, but human judgment, oversight, and planning are essential. Thank you to all the researchers and panelists for sharing your knowledge. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your participation and insight, and we look forward to continuing this important conversation on AI in the near future. Goodbye and take care. Bye-bye.